It's a real pleasure to be here, and very pleased that I could present. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to Perth, but this will have to be second prize. But this is my first public presentation since SUNSTONE announced some fantastic results from our first drilling on the Palmar gold-copper porphyry project in northern Ecuador. I think these results are very significant. And time will tell just how significant they are. And the other, I guess, important component to this is that I'm extremely lucky to be working with a team that has been involved in two previous discoveries of copper-gold porphyry systems. So it's wonderful to be embarking on this journey again. It's very exciting. Next slide, please. A standard disclaimer for some forward-looking statements. Next slide, please. Okay, so market capitalisation, we're sitting a little bit above that today, but that's based on a 7-day VWAP. So we're in good shape. The market reaction to our announcement of a discovery has been encouraging. We're a very well-funded junior. We've got $12 to $13 million in cash, and we've got equities in a NASDAQ Stockholm-listed company, Copperstone Resources, that is completely liquid, and we can turn that into cash as well. 2.2 billion shares on issue. Top 20 shareholders, roughly 40% of the company, and that shareholder structure has been very stable for the last 7 or 8 years. And the board and management, we've participated in a number of placements and other investment opportunities on market as well over the last few years. So we are very much aligned with shareholders. Next slide, please. Right, so it's a very simple story. Let me give you the 3 main points. As I've mentioned, market capitalisation around $100 million, just over $20 million in cash and equities. That gives us a enterprise value of about $80 million for what we think is going to be developing into a very significant discovery of a large porphyry system in Ecuador. So lots of upside yet to deliver. The project that's getting all the press at the moment, El Palmar in northern Ecuador, we currently hold 51%. We have a clear path through to ownership of 100% with what's called a staged acquisition agreement. So these are 2 more cash payments. We've drilled 4 holes. All of those holes are mineralized. We've released assays from 1.5 of those holes, and that garnered the market interest last Thursday and has been maintained since then. We've also got soil sampling in progress, so we're building the story. It's more than just the area that we're drilling at the moment. We also own 87.5% of another gold-copper porphyry in southern Ecuador, the Brahma project. We're drilling there at the moment as well, and we're taking that drilling program through to deliver adequate drill density to enable us to estimate an inaugural mineral resource in 2022. Next slide, please. So let me talk briefly about Ecuador. Ecuador's a wonderful country. It's building an exploration and mining sector. A new president was inaugurated in May this year, and he has publicly stated that he supports responsible mining. Very important that the industry operates very responsibly in Ecuador, and to date the companies have done a very good job. And that's been led by a company called Lundin Gold, who are developing and producing gold from the Fruta del Norte deposit, and they've done an outstanding job. They've demonstrated to the people of Ecuador that mining can be undertaken responsibly and bring very significant benefits to the stakeholders around the mine and throughout Ecuador. Ecuador, obviously the first port of call for the president to deal with was dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, and he's managed that extremely well. Ecuador has over 60% of the population double vaccinated, and they're getting back to business. Mining is starting to play a role in contributing to the GDP of Ecuador, but there's still lots of upside to come from an expanded industry. And I think an important tick of approval for Ecuador is that all the major mining companies are there. BHP, Newcrest, Anglo American, Fortescue, Hancock, Codelco, Lundin Gold, they're all there with a significant presence. And you'll see Ecuador booming over the next 5 or 10 years as this exploration delivers discoveries and as some of the current discoveries are developed. Next slide, please. I won't go through this in detail, but it gives you some flavour for what's going on. Our project El Palmar in the north and our other project Brahma in the south. But it shows you the distribution of deposits along the main Andean arc that runs the length of Ecuador, and then a very significant older arc that's off in the southeast corner of Ecuador. A list of the deposits there, they're very large. SolGold's Cascabel project that you're all familiar with. SolGold has a market capitalisation of over $1 billion Australian. And then I'll just point you to Warintza, last on the list there, that's held by TSXV company Solaris. They have an outstanding porphyry opportunity. Again, their market cap is $1.4 billion. Next slide, please. We take very seriously and we're very proud of the work we're doing with local communities, social programs, environmental programs. In return, we enjoy very strong community support for the work we're doing. We're doing a lot of environmental monitoring. We're involved in reforestation programs. We've obviously been involved in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, managing vaccinations for people surrounding our projects, providing support where we can in the form of food and other support during the coronavirus pandemic when things were shut down. So we're doing what we can. We have plans to do a lot more, and we're proud of this work, and you'll continue to see us reporting on this work into the future. Next slide, please. Rightio, let's go to El Palmar. So there we are. Importantly, we're on the same geological belt that includes 2 billion tonne porphyry deposits. Cascabel that I've mentioned, 2.6 billion tonnes, 65 kilometres to the northeast of us on the Toachi Fault. And Lurimagua, a 1 billion tonne deposit, copper moly, again related to the Toachi Fault system. And you'll see there the discovery drill holes that we reported last Thursday. So the first hole, mineralisation basically from surface, nearly 500 metres of over 0.6 grams gold equivalent. So it's a mixture of gold and copper dominated by gold at this point. And within that is a high grade zone of 170 metres at over a gram per tonne gold equivalent as well. We've released partial results from hole 2 and again delivered approximately 170 metres of over a gram gold equivalent. So very, very exciting results for first drill holes into a porphyry system that had not received significant drilling previously. It had received some, and I'll talk about that next. So let's go to the next slide. This gives you a flavour for what the area is like, what we've been doing. We have road access into the site. We've been re-gravelling that road so that we can bring drill rigs and water trucks and other support in. Drill pads are prepared. We've got about 5 of those prepared at the moment, so we're well ahead of our requirements for drilling. We collect our ground geophysical data. You can see some areas of the concession are quite open and agricultural. So good access, drilling in progress, 1 rig at this stage, and soil sampling in progress. Next slide, please. Okay, so the image on the left there, the ground magnetic image, that shows in yellow the drill holes that we've completed, but also shows 3 holes that you may be able to see there labelled CED. They were some historical holes and they were drilled 11 years ago by Codelco. And Codelco came in, had a look at some of the rocks at surface, which is very minimal, and drilled 3 holes. So didn't do any geophysics, didn't do any significant soil geochemistry. We came in and, as we've done with other porphyry discoveries, undertaken a detailed magnetic survey first to help us map the rocks. This identified a circular magnetic feature of about 600 metres diameter off to the margin of where Codelco had drilled. So a great result. We couldn't have asked for anything better. And that defines our initial target. So that's what we're drilling now. And on the right-hand side, there is a cross-section showing the results from hole 1 that we announced last Thursday, mineralisation from surface. But a key component that we are finding is that the copper, gold and silver are all directly correlated with how magnetic the rock is. And this is from the first 2 drill holes. So the grey domain there is the rocks that are more magnetic. And to put it very simply, this is what's guiding our exploration. It's supported by things like surface geochemical anomalism, but this is what's driving our exploration. And the holes that we have planned are testing that domain. Next slide, please. This is the soil sampling that we're doing. So another benefit to us is that this area has been covered by young volcanic ash. So Ecuador is a volcanically active country, and over the last 10,000 years or so, there's been various eruptions, and that's deposited ash over the top of this area. So a lot of the rock is hidden, and there aren't many areas to get a good look at the geology that lies underneath it. So we're going in with a handheld auger, we drill through that ash, we collect a sample, we analyse it, and what do you know, we're getting coincident copper and gold with our magnetic anomaly. So again, reason to be very encouraged. Let's go to the next slide. Rightio, so we'll work our way through this. If there's one slide that you need to listen to today, I think it's this one. Okay, so this is a vertical cross-section through the magnetic model that we've built for the Palmar target. And you can see there's some drill holes, some historical ones and ones that we've drilled and are drilling. Okay, let's go to the next component of this, please. Right, so this is the area of holes 1 and 2. And you can see there that's upper 400 metres. We've got gold-copper mineralisation correlating with the magnetic anomaly. So we know that that subvertical limb is well mineralised. Next component of the slide. Okay, this is the other limb on this cross-section. There's a number of them, but this is the other limb on this cross-section. And this has been drilled with hole 4, which we know is mineralised. And we're about to start drilling hole 5, which will go across that magnetic domain there as well. So we know it's mineralised. We don't yet know the grades, and we'll be able to deliver those grades to the market in November. If we then go to the next component, you'll see there, this is going to be tested between now and the end of the year. We've got some deep holes planned, but you can see that these subvertical magnetic domains are linking with a much larger magnetic domain at depth. Again, it's guiding our exploration. We're very optimistic given the correlation with magnetic domains in the shallow parts of this, but we'll be testing this between now and the end of the year. Next component of the slide, please. Okay, so at the same scale, this is a cross-section through the 2.6 billion tonne Palmar deposit. This is showing a number of components. It's showing bornite, it's showing chalcopyrite-pyrite ratios. But you can see there outlined in the darker lines the distribution of a 0.9% copper equivalent domain and a greater than 0.3% copper equivalent domain. So they're similar in scale. That gives us hope and optimism that what we're drilling currently in the shallower domains leads into a significantly deeper target as well. But at this stage, we've got a mineralised system from surface that could potentially have a vertical extent of over 1 kilometre, and we'll be testing that over the next few months. Next slide, please. So that's all about that main circular magnetic anomaly, but there's more to the story than that. This is the work that's ahead of us. We've identified a number of circular anomalies there that we think are other porphyry targets that you can see marked on the left-hand side in red, those red ring structures. They have porphyry characteristics. We know at least one of those is mineralised from some surface sampling that's got about 0.3 gold and nearly 0.2 copper. So we're going to be building this story up significantly. We've got a grid soil program going on at the moment, and we'll be testing the entire concession. So as you can see, very significant upside ahead of us. 4 porphyry targets, 6 epithermal gold targets. We're working our way through it as time allows. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I'll run through this quickly. Brahma in the south. 6 porphyry targets. We're drilling on the main Brahma one at the moment, which is in the centre there. We've got 4 more holes to drill before we can deliver an inaugural resource, but we've got the others to test as well. Next slide. Okay, this is Brahma. This shows you the drilling pattern. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all these results on the right-hand side, but I'll let you read this at your leisure. But quite a few coherent areas and drill holes and trenches where we're delivering greater than 0.6 grams per tonne gold equivalent. This also is an outcropping porphyry system, mineralisation from surface, and our inaugural resource will look at surface down to about 300 or 400 metres below surface. Obviously, something that could be captured in an open pit if it goes through to development. Next slide. And the story here is similar. On the right-hand side, you've got the robust geological model that we're building, and then on the left-hand side shows you the other targets that are surrounding this area. We build tons with additional drilling of each of these targets. So that's a program for 2022. Okay, next slide. What's ahead? A lot of exciting times. We're well funded, so we can afford to do this. We have no plans to go back to market anytime soon. As I said at the outset, we've got $12 or $13 million in cash and nearly $9 million in equities that are liquid and that we can trade and turn into cash. So the focus on El Palmar, we're drilling at the moment. We're on to hole 5. We'll be making a decision about a second rig over the next few weeks. We'll be delivering assays from holes 2 to 6, we think, between now and the end of the year. We'll obviously try to accelerate that as best we can, and we'll be expanding our soil coverage. So while we'll be delivering results into the market for the main El Palmar target, we'll also be building this bigger story to provide some indication of what the upside might be here. Brahma, as I've said, we're targeting an inaugural resource next year. We're also going to undertake some electrical geophysics over a couple of the other targets to deliver into those expanding drill targets for Brahma. So marketing, lots of news flow, particularly from El Palmar. You'll see us popping up on Proactive Investors to talk about all of this as we go. You'll see us on Twitter and LinkedIn. We'll keep everyone up to date on what's going on. Great conference to be presenting at today. We really appreciate the support of Reed Corporate and miningnews.net so that we can get this story out. We've got a couple of others coming up between now and the end of the year. So let me leave you with a couple of slides. Next slide, please. Okay, this was the one that I told you to pay attention to. Obviously, we're working our way through drilling these magnetic targets. We know one is mineralized, and we know the assays. We know the other one is mineralized, and we'll be delivering assays in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll be testing the deeper part of that too. And, you know, how big is it? Well, we can compare it to other deposits, and hopefully we're going to deliver something pretty significant here. And the next slide, just to finish up, I've had many requests for photographs of drill core, so I thought I'd better finish on this. But you can see some of the grade distribution here. So we're obviously getting some really decent gold grades in a porphyry, one on the upper right there, 1.6 grams of gold. But we're also getting domains of higher copper. You can see there up to nearly 1% copper. There's hints in the geology of this that we are going to see higher copper domains within this system, and that will come with additional drilling. So enjoy the photos of the rocks, enjoy hearing the news from us, but we're obviously very excited about what's ahead. Thank you very much.